I'm Kat.
And I'm Hayley.
And this is Night Classy,
a tipsy night class teaching the oddities and curiosities you never learned in school.
What are we drinking, Hayley?
Mostly water.
Yes.
But I have a White Claw lined up. You have a fancy drink.
Yeah, I went to Trader Joe's once again, and I got Henry Hotspur's hard-pressed 4-cider rosé.
Ooh, Henry Hotspur, unknown brother to Johnny Appleseed.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's pretty good. It's hard apple cider, and it looks like it has powdered hibiscus flower and rosebuds and petals to make it pink.
Ooh, you're so on brand for autumn.
Yeah, I have been on brand for autumn. Today we took a walk this morning, and it was kind of chilly, and there were crispy leaves on the ground.
Oh my God, like walking into a movie set.
Yeah, it was gorgeous, and everyone's decorated for Halloween. There's skeletons in everyone's yard. Skeletons seem to be the hot goss this Halloween season.
I literally almost bought 10 miniature skeletons yesterday for no reason at all. I was like, I don't know where I'm going to put them. I don't even need them. And then I talked myself out of it. But now I'm kind of mad that I didn't.
The reason is they're cute.
They're cute. And I do need them. I saw a TikTok video where a girl took one of them from like the Target section, a mini one, and she like, I guess, yassified it. She gave it nails and lashes, and she took like wefts from her weave and put it on the skeleton.
Wait, that's so cute. I keep seeing the little skeleton animals, and I have skeleton mice, but I want more. I want a whole menagerie.
Tommy and I laughed so hard. We saw a skeleton cat, and it had the ears like made out of bone.
They always have bones where they shouldn't have bones. Like it'll be like a crab, an animal that famously doesn't have bones, but there's a whole skeleton of it.
I thought a crab was just all bone.
No, kind of. It has an exoskeleton. Okay. So in a way, but not bones as an internal skeleton.
I did not know that. Learning something new every day.
Have you never eaten crab?
Oh, I've eaten crab.
Do they have bones?
I thought the little things on the inside were bone. I don't know. I
thought you were eating the bone?
No, not the meat. Have you eaten a crab, Cat?
No, but I've seen one.
Well, there's a little part on the inside that goes through the meat.
Like a tendon.
Like a tendon. I
Yeah.
just thought it was different.
Or
I've
a
never
bone,
thought about it.
a squishy bone.
A squishy bone.
I'm disturbed you've been teaching preschool and you didn't know about exoskeletons.
We don't cover exoskeleton in preschool, all right?
Gotcha. That's a kindergarten standard.
I know my letters, most pronunciations I know. Small words. Small words I'm good. The big words, that's out for debate.
Gotcha. Well,
that's why they demoted me. I'm no longer in the classroom.
Yeah, now it all is coming together. I understand.
Yeah, I've been lying to you and everyone I know. The truth comes out.
Promotion and demotion are pretty close in pronunciation, so I can see.
And I don't know the difference. I'm the dumb host.
You don't need to know the difference in preschool.
All I know is that I get paid every 2 weeks.
That's all you need to know. That's it.
That's why I show up to work every day.
Man, well, we carved pumpkins last night. That's some fall vibes.
I can't wait to taste the seeds. Kelly was like, should we save the seeds? And I'm like, yeah, we should. Well, you should, because if anyone's going to roast them and season them, it's Kelly.
Oh, those seeds would be long in the garbage if they were at my house. But I believe Kelly that she's gonna do it.
She's gonna do it. She does the above and beyond out of the group. She's the one.
Definitely. And we had we had mulled wine mixed with spice cider.
Chef's kiss.
So fucking good.
So good.
Next Patreon cocktail hour, we should have that.
Yeah, and it was so easy to make. So that's what we'll have to do. And speaking of Patreon cocktail hour, we just got done.
We did.
With one. Well, not just now, but recently.
It was fun. We had an international guest, a Canadian.
I did not know what you were talking about at first because we had a patron from Australia join us. And I was like, they weren't in there. But yes, Canadians, that counts.
Yes, it counts. It counts. It's America's hat, but it counts.
We compare different things about each country. We talked about the streaming services.
Yeah, they don't have Hulu.
Our mind was being blown.
It made me rescind my offer to move to Canada.
I'm still
I need
available. Me and Tommy and the cats are a package deal for any Canadians looking to add to their family.
But yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was spooky, and we're already looking forward to our Patreon cocktail hour next November. So if that sounds like something that's interesting to you, you can join Patreon at any tier to get the Zoom link. And I believe we have a new sugar mommy that we need to shout out.
We sure do. That would be Miss Emily from Ackworth, Georgia. First of all, my best friend, one of my best friends, don't get offended, Kat. You can have multiple best friends. You know how it's kind of like
you have
like your best friends like form who you are completely? You can have multiple best friends.
You can have multiple best friends, but there's only one number one best friend.
I don't think so. I have a childhood best friend, I have a college best friend, and I have an adulthood best friend. You're my adulthood best friend.
Fine.
Sorry, it's the truth. Anyway, I totally centered that on my best friend who lives in Ackworth. But anyway, shout out to you, Emily. She's an ex-teacher turned stay-at-home mom of twin boys.
Hats off to you, Emily. That sounds hard.
She literally said, so same job, but longer hours.
Fair, but I get to go home and parent cats at the end of the day.
Your
That's
cats
a lot
are
easier.
Bad. No, they're
not
actually
bad. They're good. Except Ghosty did pee in our laundry basket the other day, so maybe he is bad.
They're like humans. At least Ghost is. I feel like Ghost is a human trapped in a cat's body.
Exactly, and he has high standards on like how he deems his life should be lived. So when we accidentally ordered a smaller litter box than he's used to, that didn't go well. We need to get a new one.
He was pissed and pissed.
Yeah, he let us know about it. He
embodied his emotions.
He's a master communicator.
He makes it very clear, doesn't he?
Yes.
Well, hopefully our cats joining you this week will not send him completely over the existential edge.
It might. I already have anxiety meds to give him.
Good.
It's going to be an adjustment.
Have some that if you want to give to Zafty
Should I just drug all our cats?
Just drug all the cats.
Oh my God, they could have a little stoner cat party. I'll put on like some Adventure Time and feed them snacks, and they'll just all be stoned on their anxiety meds.
You just put on one of those YouTube videos that's like the morphing colors and shapes like a kaleidoscope, but it's like bugs and things that cats like.
Yeah. I could just put on like Planet Earth. That's a good stoner show for humans and cats alike.
Yeah, I love that. I'll bring canned pumpkin. You can give to them so that
they can
eat
shit
their meds.
all over my house.
No, it's just a little bit so they can take their meds.
Okay, I'm hesitant.
They like it.
Okay. But yeah, I'm babysitting Hayley's cat. So if you didn't get that, we're gonna have a cat party.
I love how we can turn anything into a completely random conversation.
It was funny going into this. I was like, because sometimes I'll like list little topics of conversation in my notes.
Yeah.
Today I'm staring at a blank screen, but I was like, we'll figure it out.
We always do. But shout out to you, Emily.
Yes.
Thank you very much for joining the club. She was sad because she joined one day late as far as joining us for our cocktail hours go. So if you're wondering, how can I get to these cocktail hours? It is always the first Friday of every month. And Kat already told you can go over to patreon.com/nightclassy to sign up there.
Yeah. And I almost called her Hayley. Emily joined at a tier where she gets to pick a lesson too. So we're looking forward to covering her topic.
Yes, I believe it's my turn.
It
so
is.
I'm super excited. She already told us what the topic is, and we have a few patrons who are still deciding. So whenever you decide, just send it our way. And if you want us to cover that topic, just join us on Patreon at, I believe it is the not Night Classologist. I forget which tier it is.
It's the Sugar Mommy tier, right? Or is it?
I don't think that's the name of it.
Oh.
It's a different thing.
Okay, I never know the names. We change them so much.
We change it so much. But anyway, it's a $25 tier, so you can check out Nightcat. Are we sure? Okay.
I don't know.
We should make one of them Sugar Mama because you guys said it like 50 times.
I think we do. I think there is a Sugar Mommy tier, but I think it's like really high. I mean, you gotta pay to be
I think
to
we're
have a sugar baby.
confusing that with List Bitch because that's our intro to List Bitch. We talk about our special Patreon show for all our sugar mommies, sugar daddies, and sugar people.
Look, I don't know what's going on. Am I even the host of this podcast? I don't know.
I'm the host now.
Everything is confusing, but yeah,
We're making it.
Let's make it happen. We breathalyzed. I blew straight zeros.
I blew 0.024.
So I'm gonna sit back with my little cider and tell me a tale, Hayley.
All right, this learning journey is so scary.
I can't wait. We keep forgetting to bring candles.
Dang
Every
it.
week
Okay.
we say we're gonna make it spooky in here. We never do.
We can't make it spooky in here when it's like stark daylight out.
That's true. It's like 1 p.m. right now, but on other times when we record in the dark, we can.
Alex, like, I know it can make it creepy, like pulls out a knife and will this meet the mood?
He drops
We
his
did have our
trench coat.
creepy theme music.
Yeah,
we
that's
did.
true. That set the mood enough. We don't need candles.
I'm pulling my weight on scary ambiance.
Whoa, Alex, that sounded a little accusatory.
Yeah.
I don't think you're ready for this story.
I don't think you're ready for a fight.
I'm
You
going
two
to
are
pee in
always
the
ready.
laundry hamper if you upset me.
He's like, Ghost is getting all the credit. That was me.
If that was him, he needs to go to the doctor because that smelled
Immediately.
horrendous.
I was just laughing because you guys are like, yeah, Ghost is like a human. He got upset and pissed in my laundry hamper.
Doesn't everyone do that?
He's like a human with his emotions and his eyes. It's like he knows things that we don't think he knows.
Yeah,
I
he's
agree.
too smart.
I think he got demoted or something. You know, if we're speaking in terms of like Buddhist, you get reincarnated. He did something and got sent back to cat.
Definitely. I could definitely see him like making a fucked up choice as a human, getting put in a cat's body. And now he has to like be my emotional support animal to make up for his sins.
Well, I don't know if he's doing a very good job with all the pissing in the hamper.
No, I'm his emotional support animal at this point.
What's next for him in his lifetime? Maybe a rock.
Yeah, how can you it's easy to go down from cat. He
For
can-
sure. Cats actually might be at the top.
As far as animals go, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He would be like an owl next.
He already kind of looks like one.
That's why I said it, yeah.
Yeah. There's a cat that lives a couple blocks from us, and it's like a feral cat, but someone put a collar on it and they feed it. So like it you know, those
Sorry,
kind of
it's
feral
like
cats.
it's someone's outdoor cat.
And whenever we walk by, it runs at us and like leaps at our legs and is just like, it jumps to be pet, like it jumps toward your hand to make you pet it. Like it's that friendly. It's so crazy. And it's not scared of Georgia.
Love that.
It's so cute. It's like a tiny little black cat.
It's like it headbutts you like a soccer player. How
Yeah.
they jump up and butt heads.
Yeah.
Like,
Like it just
baby.
jumps at your hands.
I love it when cats are like dogs.
It's
so
the
funny.
cutest. It is so cute. Like it literally runs when it sees us.
Aw, what's its name?
I guess I haven't checked its tag. It's always just bopping around. It doesn't sit still.
Well, check its name. Get back
Okay,
to me.
I will.
I'm interested. Trigger warning for this story. Just general death, scary things happen. It is, I don't know. It's just scary. Okay.
Mine too. It's a Halloween lesson.
It is a Halloween lesson. All right, so we're going to start on May 7th, 2003. Natalia and her husband, Igor Chardimova, went to visit their daughter, Olga's grave in Nizhny Novgorod, Russia. Their daughter had been tragically murdered when she was 10 years old in a robbery gone wrong. But that day in May, Natalia and Igor were going to paint a fence that they had put up decoratively around her grave. So they did that, and they came back the next day, and something just felt off. Natalia remembers getting a gut feeling that someone had been there, but she couldn't prove it. She just noticed that like a wreath had been moved, but they just brushed it off until later that month they found a note on her grave. It was signed by DA or Dark Angel or Kind Angel, something
District
scribbled like that.
attorney.
District Attorney. And also, I don't know how it was DA because like it's in Russian, so I don't know if that's just translated. But whatever it was signed by some anonymous person.
Okay.
More anonymous letters arrived at Olga's grave addressing her as Little Lady, and letters would come in for holidays, for the beginning and end of the school year.
Did they know who murdered her?
Yeah,
Okay.
he got caught. He was in
so it's
prison.
not him?
No, it's not
Okay.
him. She would get letters for beginning the school year, such as like they would write "Happy first month of your 6th grade school year."
I just got chills. That is so creepy.
Very specific, and obviously that's super upsetting to Olga's parents. There would also be plush toys on her grave as well when there were letters, and these nice, if you will, gestures turned into something more sinister when one of the letters threatened the parents. Quote, "If you don't erect a great monument, which she deserves, we will dig her body out." So they erected a headstone for Olga, only to find it when they came back. It was pinned with letters, and then someone had taken an axe to it.
What?
Yeah.
How do you even take an axe to a headstone?
I
They're
don't
made
know.
of stone.
It looks like it was just, I'm
like
guessing like
split?
marks in it. Yeah.
Dang, why? They did what they wanted.
I know.
The fuck?
Natalia reported this to the police, but they said that there was nothing that they could do. But they did also let Natalia know that if she could find him, that she could do, quote, whatever she wanted to this barbarian, and they wouldn't object.
No. Police, you need to do that.
Go do the work.
Yeah. They're like, I don't know, but you do it. Like, the what? Every time I hear about Russian police, I'm so confused.
It makes me think of American police and conservatives where they're like, all right, teachers, we're going to arm you. You do it. We're scared.
Yeah, for real. That is nuts.
It's mind-blowing.
But, I mean, it is kind of nice to have that permission because she probably did want to fuck up these people.
It's comforting. Oh, yeah. She's like, if I ever caught that person, I would kill them right then and there. Like, I would tear them apart.
And it depends on the type of person. Like, if you told me that, I would be like, that doesn't help me because I'm too scared to ever do anything. But some people, I feel like, are looking for an excuse to fuck someone up. Mm-hmm. So
I think so,
you can tell those people that.
Some people would just hunt out on the grave, but like obviously they have a life. They can't just do that. And it's like, would you really want to see and interact with whoever's doing this?
No. And I mean, you think like, and my first thought went just move her to another graveyard, but like that's so traumatic to have to dig her up. Like they should not have to do that.
Yeah. It's
Sorry,
just all trauma. You need a minute?
Yeah.
You're good. Are you all right? You don't look all right.
You look so disturbed.
Oh, well, buckle up, honey. Okay. So they desecrated her gravesite and they continued visiting Olga's grave, though. They would continue leaving notes and they would bend the metal holy cross at her gravesite. And it wasn't just Olga's grave being violated. Over the years, there were many incidents of cemetery vandalism in the city of Nizhny Novgorod, with a serious uptick in 2011. But police knew of a highly educated local professor who was considered a specialist on the local cemeteries, so they went to Anatoly Moskvin for help. Anatoly Moskvin was born to Yuri Fedorovich and Elvira Alexandrinova in Gorky, Russia in 1966. Anatoly's parents knew from a young age that he was intelligent. They described him as being shy and a bit socially awkward, but overall had a presenting, laid-back demeanor. All of that changed randomly, though, when he was 8 or 9 years old. Their docile son turned into an extremely aggressive child who experienced frequent outbursts. And what ended up happening was his parents essentially just left him to his own devices. They tried to help him several times and ask him what was wrong and try to point out his change in demeanor, but he would just lash out at them. He could become violent at times, so they left him alone and did nothing. Anatoly threw himself into his studies and showed no interest in dating. He absolutely loved studying and formed a reputation around it. So later in life, his colleagues would remember him as an eclectic genius. He attended Moscow State University, where he studied philosophy, and he considered himself a necropolyst, or an expert on cemeteries.
I bet he is.
Oh, he is. He regularly wrote contributions to the Russian obituary newspaper Necrologies, and he literally loved death. His degree of choice allowed him to openly study death and cemeteries, burials, and the occult, all under the umbrella of Celtic history and folklore.
I chose the wrong major. That sounds so fun.
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
I'm like, you could probably still have done Teach for America and all of that.
Yeah, I mean, easily. I did Teach for America because I had a history degree, so why not have a folklore degree instead? I did take a class in college on the anthropology of death, and that was like one of my favorite classes
that
ever.
is so cool.
It was really cool. We studied like mourning rituals and burial rites like from different cultures around the world.
I wish I would have taken a gap year or a gap several years. I don't know. I just needed more time. Like psychology is fine, but it's useless as a bachelor's, and I didn't end up going down the route anyway.
I know. I wish I could have gotten my history degree still, but then like also got something useful like communication.
Yeah.
I loved learning about it, but it's useless.
Yeah, we were so young when we entered. Like I was literally 17 years old when I went into school and made that decision. Like, what? Who let me do that? Literally everyone around me.
Yeah, everyone just...
That was the expectation.
That's just what you do.
Ugh. Well, he made the right choice this time, Anatoly, with his degree here. And over the course of his lifetime, he had collected over 60,000 documents in his personal library covering all of these topics. He also taught himself 13 different languages. He wrote several different books and worked as a journalist. He loved dead things so much. He went on an eccentric mission of sorts after a fellow academic and author commissioned him to summarize and list all of the dead people in the 700 plus cemeteries in the local region of Nizhny Novgorod.
Wait, that sounds so fun. So he just got to walk around the cemetery all day recording names?
Yeah. For 2 years, he would walk about 20 miles per day to and through the cemeteries in this region.
Why did it take him, you said 7 years? 2 years.
2 years, over 700 cemeteries.
Oh, 700 cemeteries. I thought you meant 700 graves.
No.
Wow.
Yeah, way more than 700. And at night, he would just stay out. He would sleep on haystacks and in abandoned barns. He would stay hydrated by drinking from puddles in the road.
What the fuck? What?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So this guy is deranged.
That is one word for it.
Yeah. Is this the doll guy? Maybe. Okay, yeah.
It was during this voyage that Anatoly actually slept in a coffin that was being prepared for someone like the next day. He apparently reminisced on this often. He really enjoyed it.
Okay, so buy yourself a coffin to sleep in at home.
Go sleep in your house.
Yeah.
He was
and drink out of a water bottle.
Get a filter water bottle at least to fill it up. Do one of those like lifesaver, the
little
straws. Carry on. But
yeah, get yourself a blue straw.
You don't
to
have
drink
to
out of the
do
puddle.
that.
How did he not get dysentery?
I don't know. Maybe things are different in Russia.
But they're built different.
Just all the water's actually vodka is what it is.
Yeah, it's sterile. Maybe he was just like dumping like some vodka from his flask into the puddle before he drank it.
Yeah. Okay, he's sanitizing it. He knows what to do.
He's so
clearly.
smart.
He's of sound mind. He was questioned multiple times by police while he was in the cemeteries because they're like, what are you doing? But he was never arrested after explaining his academic credentials and his purpose of being there. We know all about his travels because he wrote them all down in great detail and sent all of them in to the editor of Necrologies. The editor, Alexei Yazin, never did publish any of the work and would later state that the literature was priceless. Anatoly worked as a freelance correspondent from 2006 to 2010. He published articles here and there, but he spent all of his free time in cemeteries. There's a few stories as to why he loved death so much. I'm not sure how much any of these are true, or maybe they're all true. I don't know. I'm just going to tell you what my collection of research told me.
Okay.
So one story goes that when Anatoly was a child, about 11 or 12 years old, he's walking down the street and he's going past a cemetery. And in the cemetery, there is a funeral going on for a young girl. Some of the adults from the cemetery call him over and they tell him to kiss the dead girl on the lips. And he's like, no, I'm not going to do that. And in an article he published, he described, quote, an adult pushed my face down on the waxy forehead of the girl and in an embroidered cap, and there's nothing I could do but kiss her as ordered. And then the adults put a wedding ring on the girl and on him.
No, that did not happen.
I would agree.
That's his
a
fantasy.
Little crazy.
Yeah.
That's what he says. He also blames his parents because they used to take walks through cemeteries with him as a child.
Okay.
I think that could like maybe pique an interest.
Yeah.
But no, he it's like a negative connotation, and
negative connotation, but
yeah,
he loves
he
it.
blames them. He's like, you guys made me do this, you know.
No, he just has a fetish.
Yeah. He also, and trigger warning here for SA, he also stated later in life that he was raped as a child, and he never told his parents this until he was an adult. And, you know, at that point in time when he was all of a sudden very aggressive, I think that would be true.
Yeah.
That checks out for kind of his personality change, experiencing that trauma. And his parents didn't know that and left him to his own devices. And that created a rift in the relationship that would never be resolved. So it's really unclear exactly what is going on, but those are the stories around what made him love death so much.
Okay.
So Anatoly lived with his parents forever through his childhood and into adulthood. That is where he kept his collection of strange vintage life-sized dolls. He treated the dolls like his own children, but he still had a hole in his heart. He really wanted a child of his own, so he sought out adoption, and the agency was like, no.
No, I know this is Russia, but no.
And he wasn't interested in dating. He said he loathed sex and found it disgusting. Most people think that he was a virgin and had never even had sex. They think he was asexual. So that's why he went to the adoption agency, but they're like, you're single and you're poor.
And you're a fucking creep.
Yeah, and you're creepy.
We don't need
saw
you anywhere near these children.
Drinking out of the puddle, and we just think that like maybe it's not a good idea.
Yeah, I would say that's accurate.
I think they were right.
Mm-hmm, they were correct.
His parents were overjoyed when the adoption agency denied him.
That's all that we need to know.
They knew.
Is if your own parents don't want you to give them grandchildren, you're fucked up.
For sure. He was doing freelance work when something weird was going on in the local cemeteries. And as I said earlier, several graves had been disturbed. And it was more than several. Almost 30 grave sites had been, like, obviously desecrated. And that's when they either sought out the help of Anatoly, or there was this time, it's kind of confusing. It's not that confusing, but there was this time where they thought that someone was committing hate crimes against Muslims by desecrating Muslim graves specifically. And it was either that they asked for Anatoly's help or that he was basically caught doing something bad in a cemetery. Mm-hmm. So law enforcement went to his house, and when they were allowed in the door, it didn't take them long to connect the dots between the desecrated graves, the man who was obsessed with the dead, and this odd collection of quote-unquote dolls. On November 2nd, 2011, Anatoly was arrested and charged with desecrating the graves because upon entering his home, or should I say his parents' house.
Wait, he lived with his parents?
He lived with his parents. He never moved out.
Oh my God. So he was just doing all this in his parents' house?
Yep.
Why?
Yep.
What?
Yep. And
Did they know?
They claim to not know, but how do you not know?
Yeah.
And we'll get to that in a second. Like the neighbors even were like, there was always a weird smell, but we, it's like a public apartment. We thought that maybe it's just old. There's something, like nasty in the basement.
Yeah, and it was in an apartment, so he couldn't even like sneak it through the back door or something.
Right. Yeah, I have no idea how he did this. The collection was created over the course of, he says, 9 years.
How many?
For those of us who have no idea.
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, we're off course here.
Asking ahead questions.
So the police are there. Upon entering his home, his parents' house, there were books and just clutter piled all about. And amongst those books and the clutter were life-size dolls propped on shelves, lying on sofas. Police
Around the whole house?
Around the entire house.
No.
Yes, Katya. Police found notes Anatoly wrote about how to build the dolls. They also found cemetery maps with specific graves marked, along with photographic and video evidence of opened grave sites. Anatoly immediately confessed. He was like, I did it. We're like, we know. He confessed to digging up young women and girls from their graves and bringing them home to live with him and keeping him company. He mummified their bodies with salt and baking soda. Once they were dried out, he started the dollification process, if you will, in which he would allow their bodies and get them to be in what he considered an optimal, beautiful condition until he could bring them back to life. He filled their cavities and their limbs with rags so that they wouldn't collapse in on themselves. He wrapped them with linen cloths and then painted their faces with nail polish. Are you going to say something or are you just...
No, okay. I have nothing to say. What the fuck?
I told you it was scary.
With nail polish too.
Yeah, there's pictures. You can tell it's nail polish too.
I would think. Did you ever paint your cell phone with nail polish?
Oh, yes.
Me too.
Yes. And then it would like start to chip off and then
you just put another coat on.
It was so fun. So easy. And if you can't tell, I think maybe every spooky season, this is very Carl Tanzler-esque.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll try and find a similar story.
I'm hoping you run
season.
out of stories about people turning dead women into dolls.
It gets old, doesn't it?
Hopefully there aren't too many more real life examples.
Yeah, maybe I can pivot to something else.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll find something horrible.
So after he does all of this to like prep their body, they're dressed in children's clothes, often colorful. He gave them wigs and displayed them around his home. He claims to have never done anything sexual with them, but he would do things like throw them birthday parties, celebrate holidays, watch cartoons with them. And for the ones that he did like, they got that privilege. But for those that he didn't like, they were stowed away in their apartment garage. In total, 26 bodies were found in his apartment / garage. God. All of them female, ranging from 3 years old to 25 years old.
Oh my God.
Just heartbreaking. It's believed, though, that he desecrated 150 graves because investigators found other mementos from graves like nameplates in the apartment.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure a lot of trial and error went into him figuring out how to do this.
Yeah.
I bet it was a lot more.
And it's like, okay, if his collection started and like spanned over 9 years, what all was happening before that, I feel like you don't just, like you said, you don't just build up to doing this.
I'm just still so confused about how his parents just lived in a house with all these clearly dead girls everywhere and just didn't mind.
If I had to guess, they're probably mentally ill as well.
Yeah.
Because that shit runs in families.
Yeah, but like that is an extreme.
Mm-hmm. And we'll get to this in a second. They were gone for probably almost half the year at their like summer house.
Just stay at your summer house. Why would you
stay
ever go home?
But they would come back, and I'll talk about what his mom thought in a second here. For the bodies that weren't turned into dolls, some of them were buried around his apartment.
In what? In the fucking potted plant? What?
I don't know. Just in
buried?
the area around.
Oh, around. I thought you meant like around like the rooms of his apartment. Like, under the rug?
What? In the land around his apartment, probably within like a mile radius or something. Anatoly's parents claimed they thought that he was just collecting strange vintage life-size dolls.
Oh yeah, those are everywhere. They're so common.
Totally normal. They don't look fucky at all. No offense to the literal corpses, but they look like corpses.
Yeah, painted with nail polish.
Do you want to see some?
Yeah.
All right, we've got. We'll. You guys can check this out on YouTube. We have the pictures, or just look it up.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like a person.
No, it doesn't. There's the rest of them also don't look like people. I think I have 2 more slides, but
I mean, it's all wrapped up in clothes. And then the face does look like a doll face, like a porcelain baby doll.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, that one does.
Oh,
yeah.
God.
This is the one that I'm talking about. You can tell it's nail polish.
yeah. That's horrifying.
Scary. Super scary.
It looks like a cartoon, and they're all wearing lots of clothes.
Yeah.
Like this one has a hood on, and then it's like a paper mache face.
Oh my God.
Really
That's
scary.
so horrible.
I know.
Okay.
Anywho. So
Is there one more?
even I thought there was, but I guess there's not.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. You can there's like a complete mask on one of them.
Is that a
Oh
dog
no.
mask?
Yeah, it's a stuffed animal head.
Yeah.
Wow, that is creepy.
And okay, even if you were his parents and you thought that he was just collecting dolls, like if you did your dolls like that, that's enough to be like, this man needs help.
Yeah.
But at the same time, go back to his childhood. They did nothing when a flip seemed to have been switched in their 8-year-old.
Yeah, they definitely should have done more. But even if they're terrible parents and hated their son, they should have said, get these weird fucking dolls out of my house because it's creepy as hell.
It stinks. And
yeah.
obviously he's unwell mentally, and we see his dolls, but there's clutter, there's shit everywhere,
Yeah.
stacks on
It's like-
stacks
it's
on
like a
books
hoarder
and
house.
bags, and it's like, was that him? Maybe his parents were hoarders as well. It just seems like a really unhealthy situation.
Yeah.
and all.
Definitely. I would say this is an unhealthy situation. Yes.
I bet they were hoarders.
Yeah.
Yeah. So his parents claimed to not have known. Like I said, his parents claimed to not have known. His neighbors reported a stench, but they just kind of chalked it up to not corpses in their neighbor's house. The only concern his mother later cited was that he would occasionally talk to the dolls. She thought that was kind of weird. And then on one New Year's Eve, they had friends over for dinner, and Anatoly brought out one of the dolls and sat her down at the table, and he told the guests, he's like, "This is Masha. You don't have to be scared." And that was it. That was like the only acknowledgement of the doll.
Oh my God. Do we know who these neighbors are? And because I have a few questions.
It was his aunt.
Oh.
It was his aunt that they had over. Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know who the neighbors are. I didn't see anything about that. Other than like quotes, but yeah. It's giving Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yeah, it's giving a lot of things, and none of them are good.
None of them. It's all bad.
Yeah.
This lesson, all bad. What did I tell you?
You're right.
If you sit down for dinner and have to say you don't have to be afraid, there's probably reason to be afraid.
Yeah.
Anytime I think anyone says that.
Yeah, and it's like that shows he's aware that this is like fucking creepy.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
He knew the whole time that what he was doing was wrong.
Yeah.
And so obviously he confessed right away. I think that makes perfect sense. Some of the corpses included relics from their caskets. When he made them into dolls, he implanted several of them with music boxes in their chest so that they would make like sound when
It's
he
like when
played
you
with
get a
them.
Build-A-Bear, you put the little like noise thing in there.
I'm never gonna see Build-A-Bear.
I'm sorry, that was inappropriate.
In his studies, Anatoly read tales about ancient druids performing black magic that would bring the dead back to life. And he felt sad for the deceased children, and he thought all of his studying had prepared him to bring the dead back to life. And it also allowed him to communicate with him. So there were various reasons he gave for what he did, and these are all quotes. Quote, "I was waiting for science to find ways for these girls to live again." Quote, "I wanted to be an expert in making mummies." Quote, "I listened to what they said. Often they asked me to take them out for a walk." Anatoly would read obituaries, and the ones that really spoke to him, if you will, were the graves that he visited. He would sleep on the grave sites, and his presence there, according to him, would allow the spirit to tell him whether or not the person wanted to be resurrected.
Oh my God. It's like really sad because, I mean, what he did was awful and there's no excuse, but he was clearly like dealing with trauma that went untreated, and it doesn't sound like he had any like truly bad intentions. Mm-hmm. It's just like you wish he would have gotten help when he needed it to avoid this whole thing.
You know it's bad when, like, during my research, I was thinking, well, at least he didn't kill him.
I guess. Yeah, there's that.
Oh, it's all fucked, and you're totally right. If anything, this speaks to mental health services, getting people what they need.
Yeah.
Because that, trauma, it ripples out. Now these families not only have to deal with the death of their loved one, but the fact that he did this to them. My God. He admitted to sleeping on the graves of obituary people.
Obituary people.
Obituary people of the deceased.
Obituary people. That's what I'm going to call dead people.
Don't be an obituary. He did it for 20 years before he was actually arrested. So I guess that does give us kind of a window into what he was doing before he got arrested. It wasn't until about halfway through those 20 years he started to going into the graves. He said he would never take the body unless the spirit told him that's what it wanted. But as he got older, he said it became more difficult for him to sleep on the ground. So he would just bring the bodies back to his apartment where he could, be comfortable with them in the comfort of his own house. And in at least one of the cases, the 10-year-old Olga, they found out because his mom had a sneaking suspicion. So she got some people to make sure she was still in there. And when they dug out the dirt and everything, there was a hole on the top of the coffin that he had just pulled her body through. Really just barbaric.
God, yeah.
And his thinking was that the spirits are more likely to confide in him if they're comfortable at his house, which I don't know how you could possibly be comfortable at his house, and that he could hear them better when they weren't underground.
Okay.
Obviously, this man is mentally ill. It was only after he was arrested that Anatoly was found psychologically impaired by paranoid schizophrenia. In May 2012, he was found unfit to stand trial by a district court and was sentenced to coercive medical measures without appeal, which is where he has remained ever since.
Okay.
In court, this motherfucker was bold enough to accuse the parents of his victims, saying, quote, "You abandoned the girls in the cold, and I brought them home and warmed them up."
Oh, God. What a fucking...
Awful.
Yeah.
Awful.
Creep.
They were able to find identities of the bodies as he kept all of those notes on when and where he took the bodies from. And the facility where he is institutionalized at right now petitioned for his release in 2019.
And they're like, we're sick of dealing with this fucking guy. Get him out.
Please take him. They're like, he's safe. He's not going to do it again.
He promised.
But the court was like, No.
Yeah, no, you can keep him.
Keep him. He's
we don't
yours.
want him out here.
Forever.
Yeah.
So it seems that he will hopefully be locked up somewhere forever. And I'm just going to end on a quote that is heart-wrenching. And I'm sorry. Olga's mom, Natalia, reflecting on the whole thing, stated, quote, "I still find it hard to grasp the scale of his sickening work, but for 9 years, he was living with my mummified daughter in his bedroom. I had her for 10 years. He had her for 9.
Oh, my God. Yeah, can you imagine thinking about your child?
It makes me want to cry right now.
Yeah, that's horrific.
So I hope you're super scared. I'm
Get
gonna
cremated,
go cry.
folks.
Do the plant thing or the tree thing if you must be buried.
Yeah, man.
Okay, real quick before I go for a cry break, my sources are CVLT Nation, Anatoly Moskvin and His Mummified Children by Megan, Wikipedia page for Anatoly Moskvin, Dollmaker, the Anatoly Moskvin Story, the 2020 documentary, The Russian Doll Man by A.D. Argyle on Medium, Russian Grave Robber Who Dug Up Girls and Dressed Them for Birthday Parties by Liam on Bizarropedia, and Body Snatcher Dug Up My Daughter and Turned Her Into a Doll by Will Stewart for Mirror UK.
All right. Well,
I'm sorry.
thanks.
Woo! I hope yours is more uplifting.
It's not.
All
it's
right.
not. Well, we'll be right back. We get told a lot that people have binged the show and they're all caught up. And what do when you're all caught up on a podcast? You look for extra content.
You don't have to cry anymore. That's what I do. When the content runs out, the tears are flowing.
When the content runs dry, my face is wet.
That was such a good opportunity to be like, when the content runs dry, I'm going to cry.
That's so much better
My
than the thing I did.
Is wet. Well, your face does not have to be wet anymore because we have so much extra content on Patreon. It actually blows my mind because I'm like looking at how much we have and I'm like, I need to go back and re-listen to that.
We started Patreon before we had any listeners, so there's a huge backlog of extra content, like 30 plus episodes.
I think one of my favorite contents that we have on Patreon personally is the substitute lessons. We have, oh my gosh, 15, 20 of those right now. A new person came in and taught us lessons for each of those episodes. So you still get Kat and I, but we get different characters, if you will. They are real people, but
yeah, but
who
they're
come in and teach us things.
They're so fun. We also have List Bitch, where we do what we do on a regular episode, but in list form. We teach each other, like, what did we do last time? Cursed objects. I taught about cursed objects, and Hayley read a list of excuses why people called out of work in ancient Egypt.
It's better than it sounds.
I think it sounds
pretty good. We also did weirdest laws. I think that was my favorite of your List Bitch.
That was a fun one. And we also revisit old episodes and do trivia that you can play along with. We started doing multiple choice on our trivia, which Alec knocked out of the park, and it's a lot of fun. So if you are caught up on Night Classy and want some extra content, you can go to patreon.com/nightclassy and find the tier that works for you.
I don't know what I was about to say. I was trying to do like, you're going to like the way you look, but you're going to like the way you hear.
Yeah, the things you hear will be good.
Enjoy. Goodbye.
Are you ready for more fucked up shit?
I don't know if I am. Can I go? Can I?
You can have a small break because the first couple pages of mine are like pretty chill and then it gets really bad.
Like a horror movie.
Yeah, much like a horror movie. So you've been warned. Here we go. A werewolf, sometimes called a lycanthrope or quote unquote wolf human, is a person that can shapeshift into a wolf, or it's a person who is somehow cursed and just forced to live life as a regular wolf.
Oh my God, maybe that was Anatoly Moskvin, drinking out of puddles.
I mean,
that's the only thing I can think of.
That and just being like really weird.
Yeah,
right? He runs around at night.
Cursed ones, are they weird?
Well, they're wolves. Are wolves weird? kind of.
No,
I don't know
furry.
either. I've never met one. So the werewolf is a widespread in European folklore and shows up in traditions pretty much in every region around Europe. Like, it's crazy. The farthest back the werewolf can be traced is the Epic of Gilgamesh, which is the oldest known piece of Western prose and dates back to 2100 BCE.
Dang.
So a very old legend, yes. In this story, the hero of the book abandons his lover when he finds out that she turned her ex into a wolf. So he's like, I don't want that to happen to me. I'm peacing out. Another early mention of werewolves is in ancient Rome in 37 BCE. The Roman poet Virgil wrote about a man named Morris who could change himself into a wolf using herbs and potions and call ghosts from their grave.
Oh, dang. Okay.
Yeah, he was a little spooky boy before his time.
I like it.
In the 1st century CE, Roman... is it courtier or courtier?
I thought it was courtier.
Courtier, okay. I never
But
know
I
how
don't
to
know.
say it.
I'm not the one to ask.
Roman courtier and novelist Gaius Petronius wrote a satirical novel called Satyricon that mentions werewolves.
It's a bit meta for me. Satyricon.
It's very... Satyricon sounds like an Adult Swim show.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was ahead of his time. So the story goes that this guy who's a servant, his name is Nicaros, and he goes on a walk with his host. I think that means maybe his employer. They're walking, they come across a graveyard. And when they got to the graveyard, the host stripped off his clothes, put him in a pile on the ground, and then whips out his dick and starts peeing on them while walking in a circle around his clothes, like, peeing.
Oh my God. I'm so scared.
Yeah, I think it's meant to be funny. Because it's
that would
like
not
a
be
satire.
Funny.
I don't know a satire of what.
Yeah, this is, I guess, like pre workplace sexual harassment.
Right. Yeah, I don't know exactly what the joke is here.
There's just so many issues. The joke is sexual harassment for the
Maybe
time.
so. But in any case, this strange ritual transformed him into a wolf. And once he becomes a wolf, he takes off running toward a herd of sheep and just like attacks.
The most embarrassing part of being a werewolf is having to take your clothes off before you transform.
Yeah, because you have to. You don't want to ruin your clothes.
You can't ruin your clothes. You know, you work hard to pay for clothes.
Yeah, it's important.
They're going to shred off.
I know. It's like in Twilight where like Jacob wants to show Bella that he's a wolf. So he like walks out into the forest to get naked and come back. And it's like, you're showing her you're a wolf. Like, why not just undress in front of her?
Do it.
Who cares?
She's seeing everything,
She's
basically.
seeing your wolf dick. So he attacks the sheep. And at first, Nicaros didn't really believe what his eyes were seeing because it was so crazy. But then the next day, he was talking to the sheep farmer. And the sheep farmer was like, yeah, a wolf attacked my sheep yesterday. And so I stabbed it with a pitchfork. And then when he saw his host, who is now back as a human, he had a wound on his neck where the farmer said he stabbed the wolf. So
it better be just a massive wound or else I'm not buying it.
A pitchfork? Jesus.
It's like just a little mosquito bite. And
yeah. No.
Nicaros is like, I know what you are.
I know what you did.
Say it.
Yeah.
You're a werewolf.
So... this is another place where we'll show up, but probably the best known early werewolf legend is of Greek origin, and there's a version of which that's found in a Roman poet named Ovid's writing, published in 8 AD. According to the story, there was once a tyrannical king named King Lycaon. One day, Zeus dropped by to check on King Lycaon because he heard some shit. He was like, let me just like undercover boss it.
Some goss. Hot goss.
And Zeus said,
undercover boss it.
because he disguised himself as a regular person. He's like, I'm not Zeus. I'm a regular person.
I'm just a normal boy.
I'm just a boy.
It's me every day. I'm just normal.
Nothing to see here. And he eventually does end up revealing to himself as Zeus, but the king didn't fully believe him. He was suspicious. He was like, are you actually Zeus? So he came up with a plan to test if he was telling the truth. What he did was have one of his hostages, Epirus, killed, and then he had his body boiled and roasted and the meat served to Zeus. And I think the goal here was that, like, if this was a god, he's like all knowing and will know that this is human meat and therefore not eat it. But I don't know what the game plan was if he was a god and after he knew that, because Zeus knew, because he's Zeus, and he was really pissed off. He's like, this is so gross. Why would you do this?
And Rage the god. Also, I feel like a god, if they're going to eat human meat, they'll probably be fine. They're a god.
Yeah, but like it's like if he was a god, he wouldn't eat it in the first place. He would know it was a person, you know?
I guess. I don't know. I think anyone who's like a god like that, they're kind of fucky in the head.
Yeah,
right?
Sometimes they do bad things. Like, but I feel like Zeus is like the good one, right? Like he's not going to eat human.
I don't know.
I don't know
It's
either.
hard to say.
That's not true.
I don't know. And anyway, he didn't eat it. He was mad. And as punishment, he set the palace on fire and killed all 50 of Lycaon's sons with lightning bolts. And then he transformed Lycaon into a howling wolf and condemned him to live as the beast that he was.
Wow. Poetic. I love
Yeah.
how they're just always ready to like snap back with things like that.
Such creative
The passion.
punishments.
Yes.
Yeah.
It just runs through them.
I wish I had that kind of like on the spot thinking.
I know.
I would be like, that was bad. Let me go to your room for a little bit, think about what you've done, and I'll come back the next day with a punishment.
Let this not be a moment that I rethink of things that I could have said for years to come.
I'll think of your punishment in the shower later after this interaction is over.
I'll get back to you.
Right. And the king's name is Lycaon. So this is where we get the English word lycanthrope or lycanthropy, which is the study of werewolves. Werewolves also show up in Norse mythology in Norway and Iceland. One famous story is about a father and son named Sigmund and Sinfotli.
Nailed it.
Sorry. It goes that one night they were wandering around the woods when they found a hut and decided to go inside. In the hut, they found 2 enchanted wolf pelts. They put them on, and when they did, they were turned into wolves.
Oh my God. I thought, okay, when you said pelts, I thought you said pellets, and I thought you meant like 2 little wolf turds. I was like, oh no, what did they do with the wolf turds?
I thought you meant like little wolf treats.
No. I mean, they look very similar.
True, but wolves don't shit in pellets, right?
They shit in piles.
Like, yeah,
I bet
like
if they're
dog
like
shit.
really constipated, it would be pellets.
Yeah, probably.
Everyone can shit a pellet if they want to.
Yeah, if you just don't drink water long enough.
So ravenous rabies wolf
Ew.
consistently shits pellets.
Probably. So
Sounds like the beginning of a riddle. Okay, I'm sorry.
they put on these wolf pelts, and once you put the pelt on, you couldn't take it off for 10 days. So now they're wolves and they're running around the forest together. They eventually split up, but they agree that if they come across 7 or more men, they'll howl, and then the other one will know to come like be their backup, and they can fight them together. Because I think the dad wanted his son to be safe, and he's like, don't try to fight a whole bunch of people, just howl and I'll come help. The son didn't follow directions and killed 11 men all by himself.
Well, he didn't need the help, clearly.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. But for some reason, the dad was really pissed off about this and attacked his son and fatally injured him. And for me, this makes no sense. It's like if you wanted your son to be safe and then like he's not safe and then you kill him, like,
listen, it doesn't
not good
have
parenting.
to make sense, right?
That's true. But the rest of this story makes such good sense that this one little plot hole bothers
it really
me.
brings you out of it, doesn't it?
So his son's fatally injured, but then Odin comes and saves the day. Odin's a Norse god. He arrived as a raven, and he brought a special leaf, placed it over the wound. This healed the son, and by now it had been 10 days, so they could take off their wolf pelts. Everything was good. They burned the pelts and freed themselves of the curse.
Why burn the pelt? Just leave it for someone else.
Because
What if
it's
they wanna-
bad to be a werewolf. That's the moral of the story. Don't be a wolf.
You want to wolf out sometimes.
No, Hayley, you're not allowed.
Me and my boys are going wolfing.
Haley, it's wrong to go wolfing. Didn't you hear the
You
story?
know what I am. Say it.
It's part of me. I can't control it. It's an ancient curse of my ancestors. Anyway, Let's see. Where was I? Belief in werewolves or werewolf-adjacent creatures is not strictly limited to Europe. It does show up to a lesser degree in the Americas. Indigenous groups in Mexico have the Nahual. And exactly what the Nahual is depends on the region where your story is coming from. Some believe it's a guardian spirit that resides in animals, not necessarily a wolf. It can be a deer, a jaguar, an eagle, and pretty much any animal. Others believe that powerful men can transform themselves into predators, specifically to cause harm. So that's a little bit more like a werewolf, but it still doesn't have to be a wolf. Mm-hmm. The idea of humans transforming into a dangerous beast is also seen in North America in the Navajo tradition. The Navajo have stories about evil witches called skinwalkers who can shapeshift into animals, some of them being wolves. So we kind of see this trend around the world of humans turning into beasts. And a lot of people, like, it's a metaphor, right, for the beastly nature of humanity.
Oh, yes.
Right?
Yes, that's exactly what I was about to say.
Or is it? Or is it real? All of these stories around the world have existed for a really long time, but the belief in werewolves specifically, especially the ones resembling what we know today, really took off in Europe in the Middle Ages. The werewolf trials began as early as the 15th century and continued into the 18th century.
No way. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's happening.
These trials took place in Europe all over, in Estonia, Switzerland, Latvia, the Netherlands, Bavaria, Austria, France. Really, pretty much everywhere in Europe saw their own version of the werewolf trials. In some places, trying werewolves was more common than trying witches. And these two things went hand in hand. There was this big backlash against paganism, which the church branded as devil worship, and this incited witch trials and werewolf trials, both of these creatures being deemed to be like communing with the devil. It was this mass hysteria. Was gender assigned to it as far as like being a werewolf? Was it like guys only and girls were witches? That would be really fun and cute, but no, I do think in the cases that I read, it was actually it was mostly men being accused of being werewolves. I'm sure you can find examples of women. All of my examples are men. And of course, there were men tried as witches too, but it was more common for them to be women.
I love how the gendered, like, folklore creatures are still assigned.
It's like girls are cats and boys are dogs.
Yes.
Yeah, so.
Which is true.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
The story from these trials, when they got someone to confess, generally went that they made a deal with the devil and they received some kind of magical ointment or drink or belt or sash or wolf pelt that transformed them into a wolf. Some accusations included wolf riding or wolf charming, which is enchanting a wolf to do your bidding, kind of like a witch's familiar.
Just get like a squeaky toy to enchant them.
I too am a wolf tamer. Yeah. Squeak, squeak.
I know.
In their wolf form as these werewolves, people might do anything from attack sheep to brutally eat and kill children. Confessions from these werewolves were typically achieved under duress by torturing until the accused gave in and admitted they were a werewolf, just like the witch trials.
Well, that's sound. That it's how it works. How else are you going to get confessions? That's just how you get the truth out of people.
Definitely.
Torture them.
If you're possessed with the devil, you have to be forced into a confession. It's just the way of the world.
How else are we going to do it? It's crazy.
There's no other way.
Whenever I think of people making a deal with the devil, I always picture the devil, but you know that show, Let's Make a Deal?
Yeah.
I picture him as the host.
I don't think I know who that is.
Isn't he bald?
Is it Howie Mandel?
Is it?
I don't know.
Maybe. That sounds right.
I always
have
picture the devil as like a swarthy guy in a fedora.
Ew, God. He would be in a fedora.
Yeah.
But I picture him as more hot than a guy who wears a fedora.
I don't picture him as hot. I picture him as like skinny and like coked out and like a guy you meet in a back alley behind a club.
Oh, I picture him enticing since he's the devil.
That's
you
true.
know? It's like you want to be on his side if you're a little sinner.
Yes.
Anyway, we were totally wrong for the Let's Make a Deal hosts. Not Howie
who is it?
Mandel. And then it was
I don't know
Wayne,
who that man. I've never seen that man in my life.
Wayne Brady?
Wayne Brady.
Oh, Wayne
That guy.
Oh,
yeah,
you're
it is
right.
Wayne Brady.
Wayne Brady sounds so wrong, though.
Does
I don't know
he
why.
host America's Funniest Home Videos now?
I'm not sure, but he is on this season of Dancing with the Stars.
Oh, maybe we should start watching it.
Maybe. Much like the witch trials, the accused were typically innocent people that may be social outcasts or be a person that someone else stood something to gain from killing.
Anyone who pees in a hamper, immediately werewolf.
That's a werewolf, 100%. For example, in Valais in 1428, when according to some accounts, several hundred people were accused of lycanthropy and burned at the stake with a sack of gunpowder tied around their necks.
Oh my God. I bet that smelled so bad.
Oh, definitely. I mean, maybe the sulfur covered the scent of burning flesh.
I don't know. It seems like a pretty strong scent.
That's true.
I mean, that's awful for so many reasons, but
Yeah,
immediately I
definitely.
think olfactory.
Yeah, and the reason I'm bringing this up is because after all these people were killed, their land was conveniently transferred to the local vassal of the king. So there were definitely things to gain from this easy excuse to kill people, which is they're a werewolf.
I'm upset.
Yeah. Unlike the witch trials, though, there are a handful of these cases where it appears the accused may actually have been serial killers.
Oh, I thought you were going to say may have actually been werewolves.
Maybe that
I was
too.
so excited.
So there's a couple, and I have one at the end of this story. And it seems like part of the reason they were accused of being a werewolf is because of this hysteria anyway. But also part of the reason could have been like people couldn't comprehend why someone would do such horrible things like kill and mutilate children. Like they had to be a beast acting under Satan.
Something that is, completely almost untouchable for the average person.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And in addition to that, sightings of these beastly wolves was also pretty common and widespread. Like there were werewolf hunters that was their job, was hunting werewolves. And granted, there are wolves in Europe, so people probably were seeing big wolves and thinking it was a werewolf, but we have a ton of documentation of people seeing these wolves.
I would love to be a werewolf hunter. It'd be so easy.
So easy.
I would just go hike all day.
I mean, you'd probably have to kill actual wolves to show the pelts and prove that you killed the werewolf.
Yeah, you're right. Maybe just buy some pelts,
Yeah, just go to your local Joann's Fabric and get a piece of fur.
Yeah, and then you could grab some buttons, make it into a nice little cloak,
my
resell
God.
that, quadruple the price.
So cute.
Entrepreneur.
A little poncho with a little clasp in the front.
Yeah, and
Yes.
the class that goes could be a wolf tooth.
Ooh,
Yeah.
yeah, or a
Just
claw.
full wolf. A claw would be good too.
So good.
The tails. We could have brought the emo tail trend 100 years, 200, 300, 400 years sooner.
Maybe that's where they got it from.
Oh my God.
But
they
I
needed
bet
that.
if you were emo back then wearing a tail, you
That would
would be a
definitely be a
werewolf.
wolf.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a wolf. Those are the exact people that were getting victimized by this.
Man, it was tough to be emo in the Middle Ages.
In France in 1521, Pierre Burgot and Michel Verdun were put on trial for the murder of several children. In his confession, Burgot claimed that 19 years earlier, he made a deal with 3 demons dressed in black that he would renounce God in exchange for the ability to keep his sheep safe. The demons then invited him and Verdun to attend a Sabbat of warlocks. They went to this place. They were stripped naked and anointed with a mixture that changed them into wolves. They grew paws and fur, and in their wolf forms, they not only protected their sheep, but also attacked and killed children.
Well, you can only do so much before you have to make a deal with the devil. The sheep, I'm assuming, are their livelihood.
Yeah, and it's sheep, like... They're nice. You want to protect them.
The sheep.
Protect the sheep, for God's sakes. They were both found guilty and burned at the stake. And burning was how werewolves were typically killed. Sometimes they were beheaded and then burned. But the only way to truly get rid of a werewolf was to burn it.
I love how not once are they actually finding them in wolf form. It's always like, you, werewolf in human form, we're going to burn you.
Yeah, a lot of times they weren't. Sometimes they did get people to claim that they saw them as a wolf. But if that's true, if they're not just straight up lying, they probably saw a wolf and said it was them.
Yeah, and then the wolf isn't turning back into its human form.
What if they're just like catching wolves and they're like, turn back?
Oh my gosh. The wolf is like, please, sir, let me go.
I am not a man.
And they're like, a werewolf can't talk like that. That's a real one.
Historians believe that it's possible these men really were murderers. But what's more likely is they were made an example of to discourage paganism and associate it with the devil, because they attended that thing with the warlocks, and the church is really trying to grab power at this point in time.
I can tell you who is a murderer in the stories.
Right. And it's probably not the people being accused of being werewolves. The werewolf trials in France really ramped up in 1582 when King Henry IV commissioned 2 men, Pierre de Lancret and Jean d'Espagnet, to end, quote, witchcraft, wolfery, and heresy in the area. So they were sent out to kill all the witches and werewolves, essentially. They were like real life witch hunter. Lancret was especially brutal. He was well known in the area for relentlessly torturing confessions out of anyone and everyone. He would be responsible for 600 executions in his 3 years of work.
Oh my God. Okay. And not that I want to see executions on TV, but like making a reality show where you follow around these witch hunters and werewolf hunters. It's like Zach Bagans, but for witches and werewolves in the woods.
Truly. Did you ever watch Season of the Witch with Nicolas Cage?
No.
Oh, it was so bad. But it's hilarious.
Okay, now I have to watch.
It's like comically bad. It feels like a satire of horror movies.
But it's not.
But it's not. It's fucking Nicolas Cage. He takes himself so seriously in this awful movie. It's hilarious.
I like it. I'm ready already. Okay. Anyway, I'm sorry.
So this guy also was a raging racist, and he disproportionately targeted indigenous Basques and the Jewish community, claiming them to be responsible for the presence of witchcraft and black magic in France. Because, according to him, anything that's not Catholic is the devil.
It's so crazy because the same people who are hunting it and against it are the ones creating it in their minds.
Right.
And
He's
making
the one.
thing.
He's the one fucking killing people. He's the one. Look in the mirror, sir. Yeah, it's nuts. He was also I think kind of got off on it. He was obsessed with the gory details of people's quote unquote crimes. So he was torturing people until they gave him what he wanted. And what he wanted was the grossest, nitty grittiest of the details. He really liked to ask people about their quote unquote carnal encounters with demons. So I think that this was his sick,
pleasure.
He was just into it. So he's fucked up, obviously. In some cases, it looked like there really might have been a wolf killing children, and then maybe people like a person took the fall for it, because there were wolves in the area, and in some of these cases, like children really were dying or going missing or being eaten, and it's like unclear if this was a wolf or maybe a serial killer back then.
Weird.
One of these cases is that of Giles Garnier, or the werewolf of Dole. In the 1500s in Dole, France, children began going missing. During one of the search party excursions, the townspeople found a young girl being mauled by what looked like a giant wolf. They chased it away, and Garnier was taken into custody, interrogated, and probably tortured until he confessed to killing and eating 4 children in wolf form, then bringing back parts of the body to share with his family. This probably never happened, but he was tortured until he said it, and he was found guilty and burned at the stake.
That's so much to confess to, too. Like, if you're going to just...
But I think they would just keep going until like the person said the most fucked up possible thing.
They're like, and what else?
Yeah.
And what else? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Ugh. Arguably the most famous werewolf trial is that of Peter Stubb, the werewolf of Bedburg. Warning, it's about to get really graphic. Trigger warning for extreme violence, sexual assault, and incest. So for many years in the late 16th century, farmers in Bedburg, Germany became accustomed to finding their cows dead and brutally ripped open in the pasture. They naturally suspected some kind of predatory animal like a wolf, but eventually the attacks would escalate to humans. It started with children disappearing from their farms and homes, and then young women began to vanish from paths they walked every day. Some of them were found dead and horribly mutilated.
Oh, no.
Then one day, the limbs of several missing people were discovered in a field. And this convinced people that a wolf was responsible, because who else could rip apart a human body?
And it's from multiple different bodies. Mm-hmm. These limbs are weird. Were they just strewn about in the field?
Yeah, I think so. And so a group of hunters set out to finally find and kill the animal and put an end to all of this. The men tracked the creature for days until they saw it. It was a large wolf. They chased it down until they had it cornered. But once they approached, they didn't see a wolf. Instead, they saw a local man named Peter Stubb. Peter was a well-respected and wealthy farmer in the area. So when the hunters first saw him, they were in total disbelief. They could not believe that he could do this.
Yeah, wrong time to turn back, Peter.
Wrong Peter. They thought like maybe this is some kind of trick of the devil making them see Peter, but it's not really him. But when they escorted him back to his home and Peter, the real Peter, wasn't home, they were forced to confront the truth that Peter Stubb was responsible. He was brought to trial and under torture confessed to all his crimes. And there were a lot of them.
Sounds fishy.
Yeah, just a little bit. So Peter claimed he was given a magic belt by the devil when he was 12 years old. And when he put it on, he was transformed into, quote, the likeness of a greedy, devouring wolf, strong and mighty, with eyes great and large, which in the night sparkled like brands of fire, a mouth great and wide, with most sharp and cruel teeth, a huge body and mighty paws.
Wow, he's really into himself, isn't he?
He is. He has very vivid descriptions for everything.
The belt makes him a little sassy, a little.
I know. I like to imagine it as one of those like sparkly like cowboy buckles on like a pink belt that you wear on like low-rise jeans in the early 2000s.
That's exactly what I was picturing.
Yeah,
too.
like a Christina Aguilera belt.
Yes, and I can just picture the wolf wearing it as well. Like this belt does not shatter off when he turns into a wolf.
No.
The wolf also wears it. It stretches.
So apparently, according to his story, when he was cornered by the hunters and realized that the jig was up, he took the belt off and returned to his human form. Though curiously, none of the hunters ever saw the belt. He couldn't show it to anyone.
Little secret belt.
It's a secret belt. He was holding a walking stick, though, so he had something in his hand, but not a belt.
Listen, if Peter can become a wolf, the belt becomes a stick, right?
It only makes sense.
If we're using the logic that this story does, I think it checks out.
I think so too. Peter confessed to killing 13 children, 2 pregnant women, and a ton of livestock. He said he sexually assaulted the women before tearing them apart and eating their fetuses.
No. Oh my God.
Yeah, I told you it was fucked. So he claimed to have ripped the fetuses from their wombs and eaten the hearts raw. He described them as quote unquote dainty morsels.
Oh, okay then. Weirdo.
Yeah, he had quite the way with words. When he attacked children, he ripped their throats open with his bare hands. Some of their bodies were found disemboweled and partially eaten.
Oh,
So-
wait, with his bare hands? Like
He
was
would
in human
he
form?
killed them.
Or werewolf form?
That's a good question. I think in werewolf form, according to his story, but like there's speculation that he really was a serial killer, so maybe he was using his
Ew,
hands.
Yeah, it's like a little slip.
Yeah, super. Yeah, like he was like, confessing to doing it while human. At least one child, though, did escape his attack and lived to tell the story.
Really?
So apparently he grabbed a little girl from a group of children that were playing in a meadow. And when he grabbed her, the other children fled and Peter tried to rip her throat out, but couldn't because she had a high starched collar. And so he couldn't get a good grip.
You can rip a throat, but not a collar.
Well, I think he was kind of fumbling around with it for just long enough for her to scream.
Okay.
And when she screamed, there was like a herd of cattle in the field. And so her scream made them like charge him. They were protecting her.
Aww.
And this caused them to run Peter off. And in this case, he was reported to be in human form. Although it's unknown if any of the children, this girl or any of the others were able to identify him specifically, but it is known that a man did this.
Yeah, sounds like it's just a human serial killer where he's like, the werewolf version of me is not who I really am. The devil made me do it. I didn't want to do this.
It's my alter ego. I cannot be held responsible. Stubb also targeted his own family. He allegedly had incestuous relationships with his sister. He raped and impregnated his own daughter and murdered his son after luring him into the forest and then allegedly ate his brains.
He's the worst.
Yeah, if this is true, it's horrific. Some people think Peter Stubb, like I said, was a real serial killer. Maybe he wasn't a werewolf, but according to some reports, he wore a wolf pelt while he committed his crime. So that might be where the stories kind of stemmed from. Or, of course, possibly he was an innocent victim of torture and the religious and politically charged werewolf trials. We can't know for sure, but in any case, he was found guilty and executed on October 28th in 1589. And the way he was executed is also very graphic. His body was strapped spread eagle to a large wheel.
Oh,
and then
no.
his skin was flayed and pulled back with hot pincers.
Oh my God.
Yeah, his executioners pulled back his flesh to reveal bone in 10 different spots.
And you're not going to die instantly. You're going to be awake and conscious and feeling a lot of that.
Yeah, he was being tortured. So after he was flayed, his arms and legs were broken with an axe, and then finally his head was chopped off to end his life.
You know, whoever thinks of all these torture methods needs to be checked out as well.
Yeah, definitely. And again, it's like the people who are doing these things
They're
the ones that are doing the crime. Like, chances are this guy wasn't actually killing anyone. Like, just according to the odds and given all these trials, this is like, I think, the closest one to people thinking like maybe he was doing it, but still.
But it's not a werewolf.
Probably not a werewolf. On Halloween Day, Peter's body, along with his daughter and mistress, who were convicted of abetting his crimes, were burned at the stake.
Whoa, it rippled out.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And as a warning to other devil worshippers, the wheel that Peter was tortured on was hung in the town on a high pole. And from the wheel hung 16 strips of wood to represent his 16 victims. On top of that was a framed painting of a wolf and Peter Stubbs' severed head.
Ew.
Yeah, imagine
Nasty.
seeing this in real life.
God, they were so intense back then.
I know, and just so fucking creepy. And it gets even creepier because some accounts say that Peter Stubbs' face was carved to resemble a wolf.
Okay, so they're getting artistic with it.
Yeah.
They're kind of leaning in.
They're really leaning in. That just sounds so scary.
Yeah, how did they even do that?
I don't know, maybe like peel his skin back.
Give him like ears from the flaps of his forehead.
Maybe. Let's see. So these days, werewolves mainly show up in media, of course. And in movies, a person might be bitten or scratched by a werewolf only to transform during a full moon. But in real life, primarily in North America, people do claim to see giant humanoid wolves. Dogman is a cryptid reported mainly in the Midwest of the U.S. and to a lesser extent all over the Americas. Alec and I are zealous believers in Dogman in our household, and next week I'm excited to tell you all about him.
Ooh, okay, we get a little sneak peek.
Yeah, I teed you guys up a little bit.
I did, actually, I did.
But yeah, I was really hoping doing this research that there were like credible instances of people seeing a werewolf, you know? But it sounds like it was like the witch trials, like it was all bullshit. I couldn't find anything that like really made me think that they were real.
But now we know.
But Dogman is real, and I can't wait to talk about it.
I can't wait to hear about it.
Yeah.
I love that Alec is on board with these things now, too.
I know.
That definitely adds to it.
I need to. Alec will definitely, I'm sure, be tag teaming this lesson with me next week because
He's going to come in, actually.
Exactly. He's going to come in with a lot of stories. We're listeners of the Dogman Chronicles podcast, where we get a lot of firsthand accounts.
I'll be sending you a lot of links.
Yes.
I'm open to it. I don't know a lot about Dogman, so I'm ready to be convinced.
Okay. Well, I chose this lesson now specifically because I'm on fall break, so I have a lot of time to craft a good case for it. I'm excited, but my sources from this week are Before America Had Witch Trials, Europe Had Werewolf Trials by Melinda Beck on History.com, Werewolf Legends on History.com, Werewolf Legends Around the World by Tanvir on HistoricMysteries.com, Werewolf Wikipedia page, Werewolves, The History of Werewolves on MysteryExplained.com, The Werewolf of Bedburg by Stephen Wagner on LiveAbout.com. If you thought the witch trials were brutal, those condemned as werewolves suffered far worse fates by Inigo Gonzalez on Ranker.com and the Pierre Bergot Encyclopedia.com page.
Well, I love that lesson. It was so fun.
Even
for as gory as it got at times.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Like, when I was writing my notes, I was like, should I even include this? Like, I don't want it to sound like I am like
taking pleasure.
Yeah, like
in
getting
it.
too into this. But I feel like this stuff like happened. Like, we have records of it. It should be told.
Yeah,
you know?
and even under like just the context.
Yeah,
of
it's like I think it's important to realize how brutal this stuff really was, because I think we have the tendency to look back on stuff like the werewolf trials and think it was like, oh, it's like silly how dumb people were, but like it was serious.
Yeah,
like,
it
really
was
serious.
And if anything, I say all the time, it's hard to imagine people 100 years ago, but like people are people. We haven't really changed that much.
No, we've always been terrible and we continue to be so. But thank you for listening to my lesson. Happy October, everyone. We're excited to continue our fucked up lessons next week.
I hope you guys like it because we're enjoying ourselves.
We love it. As always, thank you so much for listening. Please remember to rate, review, and subscribe. Tell your friends, follow us on social media, and maybe even come join us on Patreon. We love you. Thank you. And 3, 2, 1. Class dismissed.
Nice.
Nice.
That was super